A failed plot to attack Pope Francis has led to several arrests in Indonesia. Police detained 7 people for making terror threats online against the pontiff during his visit to the world's most populous Muslim-majority country. The suspects are accused of posting statements and images threatening bomb blasts at the Pope's public meetings in Jakarta. That includes visits to Southeast Asia's biggest mosque, Jakarta's cathedral, the presidential palace, as well as the National Football Stadium. The leader of the Vatican has left Indonesia, arriving in Papua New Guinea a few hours ago. Well, we're joined by CNA's Saifulbahri Ismail, who is standing by in Jakarta, and CNA's Leong in Port Moresby. Let's first bring in Saiful. Saiful, on the surface, a successful and untroubled visit to Indonesia for Pope Francis, but now threats emerging online against him. What more can you tell us?
Well, Wesu, Indonesia's Anti-Terrorism Unit Detachment 88 or Densus 88 has regularly been making arrests on terror suspects across the country. But what is significant about these recent arrests is the fact that they are targeted at Pope Francis, who is the head of the Catholic Church, making a historic visit to Indonesia. Police said they conducted searches in the house of one of the suspects and found bows and arrows, a drone and Islamic State leaflets. Police said some of those arrested had pledged allegiance to IS. Police explained that the suspects were angry about Pope Francis' visit to Jakarta's Istiqlal Mosque, which is the largest in Southeast Asia. Those arrested were also upset about the government's appeal to television stations to refrain from the usual broadcasting of azan or Islamic call to prayer at about 6 p.m., where a live broadcast of Pope Francis' Mass at a stadium was in session. Now, television stations replaced the azan broadcast with a running text instead. Police also arrested a suspect who made online postings threatening to burn the church which was hosting Pope Francis. Police also arrested another suspect who posted a comment on TikTok saying that he was already at the Istana and will shoot the Pope. Now, although these threats are posted online, police are taking such comments seriously and will not tolerate such actions from anyone. Now, what is interesting to note is that even though the threat of terrorism exists in Indonesia and in fact all parts of the world, Pope Francis chose to travel in an ordinary vehicle in Jakarta. It was not an armored vehicle, nor a bulletproof vehicle. In fact, Pope Francis, who sat on the front seat of the car, had the window down to wave his hand at the groups of people who were lining up in the streets to see a glimpse of him. Now, interfaith harmony, which is key in dealing with intolerance and extremism, were among the chief messages of Pope Francis' Jakarta visit. However, Indonesia, which subscribes to a variety of belief systems, has experienced religious extremism in the past, and the recent arrests made on potential acts of terror just underlines the need for greater interfaith dialogue in the country.
Also, Saiful was speaking to us there from Jakarta. Waikit now, you're in Port Moresby, and the Pope has since leaving Jakarta landed in Papua New Guinea. Waikit, we just heard Saifulbahri there talking about these arrests. Now, these arrests were made across 2 days earlier this week. So Papua New Guinea would have had time to appreciate these security threats and therefore bolster any security presence that is needed given the visit of the Pope. Are you seeing signs of that on the ground where you are?
Well, Wesu, I just got off the phone with a source who confirmed that the Jakarta police side is now sending or in the process of sending intel cross borders for the Pope's security. Now, the Pope's arrival, let me do that again. The timing of the news piece came after Pope left Indonesia completely, after he landed in Papua New Guinea, after he was wheeled to his vehicle, after all journalists were packed onto our minibuses to our hotel here, and you can see behind me journalists filing stories. It was only during that time that the news broke. Of course, we immediately shared links of those stories in our journalist group chat. The Vatican is aware of the situation and so far has not said anything yet. Now let's delve a little bit more about timing. You said, Wesu, earlier that the arrests were made earlier this week. it was reported that the suspects were arrested September 2nd, September 3rd. On September 5th, it was that day that Pope Francis went to the Istiqlal Mosque to sign a joint declaration with the Grand Imam of that mosque. And he made a speech back then. He said that the joint declaration should be a document that be tapped on by religious leaders in the event of extreme or dramatic crises, use common values between religions to fight counter violence, to counter extremism, and to forge a path of reconciliation.
All right, Waikid, common values across different religions. Saiful also was talking about in Indonesia, a big message there was interfaith religious harmony. Now, Indonesia, the makeup, both religiously and ethnically, would be different clearly from Papua New Guinea. What would be his mission, the Pope's mission, now that he is in Papua New Guinea, where Christianity is strong, but as is a great deal of indigenous culture and tradition?
Right. The Pope is widely expected to push for environmental messages, given that Papua New Guinea in just recent days was hit by a 6.2 earthquake. So far, there are no known casualties. But earlier this year, there was a major deadly landslide. Thousands were killed. And back then, Pope Francis had sent prayers for the country and for the people. Papua New Guinea is also home to the world's third largest rainforest. So messages of deforestation might quite likely come up here. Social welfare as well. The cardinal of the country is a strong advocate for social welfare of the people here in Papua New Guinea. But given the latest development in Jakarta, the theme of inter-religious harmony, the theme of world peace could be a constant and recurring theme throughout his trip here.
Thanks, Leong Waikid, reporting live from Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea, and Saifulbahri Ismail before him speaking live from Jakarta, Indonesia.